different times of year. Guess what? I'm doing things for bookstore for like next April right now.
They get the 4th edition. 4th of July edition.
I will hand this to you because because I can.
Yeah. Okay.
I have 3 poems here that relate to 4th of July and this country and such.
Yeah. And Jefferson?
The first one, most definitely.
Excellent.
And they are all going to be, because he gives away books all the time, he gave me one for like poems for all of the events, and it was a bunch of poems for different holidays and events throughout the year. And I said, and I have that in my library, and I said, I'm going to work on poems, since I'm writing one for every day of the year.
Yeah.
I'm going to come up with things. And I'm like, if I have no idea what to do, I'm like, what holidays, what weird things are holidays today? I'm going to write about it. So all of these things will be appearing in that book, which will be called Every Event of the Year, and it won't be out until next year because I got to go through all of the things for the year. Yeah. But this first one was actually done for what they call Thomas Jefferson Day, but it's actually for his birthday, which is April 15th. Quarrel Over the Constitution.
Right.
Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, both founding fathers of the United States, were good friends. They never agreed on how the government should run.
That's right.
They quarreled over the Constitution. John thought that it was a document that could bend and change to the needs at the time, but Thomas said, no way. This is the Constitution. And this is a structure that does not bend. But as I said, they were friends nonetheless until John Adams was president. And by 1800, President Adams made the robust declaration that it is illegal to say anything bad about the President of the United States, and the federal government will get you if you ever think of committing this crime. At this point, Jefferson was enraged, thinking that there's this little thing called the freedom of speech. This is a direct violation of anything this country is supposed to stand for. So when the next election came, Jefferson had to run against Adams to get him out of the presidency. Right. So the two of them said anything derogatory about the other to win. Apparently, because Jefferson would argue for individual rights, Adams would say things like, voting for Jefferson is voting for murder or incest, because he thinks anyone could do whatever they want. Wow. And Jefferson was stunned that Adams would stoop so low, so he could only retort with more bad talk about Adams. Now, keep in mind, these are founding fathers that were acting like 8th graders, especially when John Adams would say things like, Jefferson has prostitutes shipped him from overseas to have sex with them all the time. And Jefferson's response would be to go to the newspaper and tell them that Adams was actually a hermaphrodite with both male and female sex organs, and they published this. Yeah. They published this. Jefferson's words on record. At this point, Adams thought, fine, if he's going to play dirty, let's play, because Adams then spread the word that Thomas Jefferson was actually dead. No point in voting for a dead man for president, right? I mean, really, the incumbent president's campaigning strategy is vote for me, I'm alive. Good call. Wow. So Jefferson found different ways to get him back.
Amelie, you're ready, Amelie?
Different ways to get him back, like calling up Hatchet Man, James Callender, to publish newspaper articles about Adams that he wants to go to war with France. Yes, this was published. And yes, Jefferson won, but Adams thought before he left that he would appoint into office below him a ton of people that vehemently opposed everything Jefferson stands for. Which may be a proper statement about how politicians can get things done while dealing with people from opposing views, but really, who am I to judge?
Whoa.
So, near the end of Jefferson's first term as president, his daughter died. Abigail Adams, John's wife, felt bad, and even though they had their differences, she wrote a sympathetic letter to Thomas Jefferson. And Jefferson responded saying, that was very kind of you, and thank you. But while I have you here, John tried to ruin my presidency, and I only feel bad things toward him. And Jefferson probably wanted to use a lot of expletives, but I don't have the original letter, so I can't believe it was true words. And keep in mind that maturity level of these two founding fathers, who were consecutive presidents of the United States. Yep. So Abigail said to John, that's it, Thomas Jefferson is dead to us. And a decade went by, them not speaking to each other until another founding father, Benjamin Rush, told Adams to let it pass. They shared those glorious 1776 days together. Those starting the country times were magical. So John Adams fondly reflected on the times with Johnny Jeff and decided to write a letter, very general. Hey, we haven't talked in a while. How are you doing? I miss you. I hope you're doing okay. Jefferson got this letter thinking of his once friend Johnny Adams, and he wrote this cordial letter back after 10 years. And they kept writing each other, and they realized that they had a lot more in common. And by the end of their lives, they'd exchanged 158 letters. These two were friends again. And by 1826, John Adams was on his deathbed, and his last words were, "Independence forever."
Uh-huh.
They both didn't know this, but they both died on the same day, July 4th, 1826, the 50-year anniversary of them signing the Declaration of Independence, which seems like the perfect ending for a tumultuous and insanely groundbreaking friendship.
Very true.
You brought that up, so I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to do that one.
Yeah.
I have two more that relate.
Mm-hmm.
Is this one a good one in your opinion? You've not heard it. This is all about the beginning of the Civil War from the perspective of Colonel Higgs.
Yes, sir.
All right, this one's called Quartermaster General, Burying Bodies. I love titles like that. It just sounds so fun. Sorry. When I came to these United States back in 1837, I shadowed a man who later became my good friend, Robert E. Lee. I became close to him, this leader of men. I really thought he was what a Christian man should be. So we remained friends until 1861, when war broke out here, and Lee decided to desert us, the Union Army, and attempted to lead the Confederate Army. All I could think of, that this was a man that I looked up to. I modeled my life after him, and he's now the biggest traitor since Benedict Arnold? Yes, I looked up to him, but I don't admire a man who chooses to be in cahoots with rednecks who love slavery. So my only choice was to battle against this man. I've seen their home for years, with his wife Mary tending all the most elaborate rose garden. I'm sure she fumed when Robert made her leave her precious roses because of the war. And eventually, I became the Quartermaster General of the Union Army. We crossed Potomac and actually occupied Robert E. Lee's residence. We even made it our headquarters. When Lee fought Ulysses S. Grant in their 40-day bloodbath massacre, 82,000 people were killed in 1 month, and I had to deal with the incoming dead Union soldiers. Every soldier I had to bury made me more and more angry at Lee. And then my heart was broken when one of the dead soldiers that came to me was my son. My son. And no father should bury his own child like this. And yes, what I'm about to say may sound like I'm a quasi-madman, but I wanted to make sure that Robert E. Lee could never come back. And if he does, let him sleep amongst Union ghosts. Where do we put all the bodies of our fallen brothers? Let's bury them. Bury them right here on Lee's property. Bury the men around his home, around the porch, and let's make a big pit for our dead in Mary's rose garden. When we won the Civil War, Robert and his wife came back to find that their precious home that they loved so much was turned into a graveyard. I hear that after I died, Lee's land became the heart of Arlington National Cemetery. As a fitting way to honor all of our soldiers. And to top it all off, Mary's treasured rose garden became the space for the tomb for the unknown soldier.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. This land that I reclaimed from the leader of the South is now and forever will be the heartbeat of America.
Yeah, that's important. That's right.
I am going to do one short one that I wrote on Memorial Day for you, and it has a photo that I will show afterward. You may have heard it. It's called Just Names.
Oh yeah, I've heard. Yep.
You've heard this one,
Yep.
yes.
Vietnam Memorial.
I didn't think much of it when I was in Washington, D.C., and the journalist in me was photographing the Vietnam Memorial Wall. While there, I saw a woman there who, to revere a name etched in stone. Others put flowers there, but I was just there to take pictures of it. that was my job. It was only when they made a traveling wall, only then did I go with him all the way to Kenosha, Wisconsin, so that we could look for our own name, reflect upon the life lost in our own family, for it to really hit home. He served for 6 years. He met his end in South Vietnam. He was a Green Beret, but it doesn't say that on the wall. His wife never remarried. She stayed in the same house she picked with my cousin all these years. But it doesn't say that on the wall either. There are so many stories that wall cannot begin to explain. Names. Just names is all it shares.
Yep.
And I actually have a picture of the traveling wall as well. But this one has it because I was being the journalist photographing the Vietnam Memorial Wall. That
Is
was
this still traveling?
I have no idea. It's no longer in Kenosha. That was in
Yeah, it
2014.
keeps moving.
Yeah, it moves. There you have it. Ergo, the name Traveling Wall. Now I thought, if this is okay with you, I would share with you some haikus just to end this for you. And this is from another book that was released yesterday. I'm just releasing too many books. This is a bunch of poems that were in issues in Down the Dirt magazine this year, and it is called The Flickering Light. And the cool thing I think about this one, all the titles of books are based on accepted writings within it. So we chose The Flickering Light. And I had to pick this because on the back cover I've got a picture of another flame. This is a NASA picture of candles, and this one was in zero gravity. And I thought that was just the coolest thing, that the flame does that when there's no gravity. But I still thought the color was better to have this on the front cover, so I had to do that for it. But I will just go through and search for haiku and share them with you. I won't even say titles. I looked at my health app on my smartphone, and it told me that every step I took wasn't a healthy one. We must create love after we are left alone, so life's worth living. And then, just a few more. I look and see all that you've affected. The world, this house, the mirror. This isolation here with our differences. This distance is a universe.